Ian, you've seen an evolution. We haven't talked before this interview, but I'm assuming there's been quite the evolution. And even in the last 3 months, this
Mm.
thing seems to be moving rather quickly. I was down there for the inauguration of Scheinbaum. I wasn't at the inauguration, but there's a lot happening. And the timeliness of us doing this, I think, is absolutely perfect. In a simple sense, and I know it's a very complex, you could speak for hours and you've written for years on this, but again, you've written books on this,
Yeah.
but like, what would be the two or three major bullets of the contrast that you've seen living in Mexico?
Well, it's night and day. In 2001 was an optimistic time where the one party system of the PRI had just been voted out of power after 71 years occupying the presidency. So imagine in the US sense, I mean, Democrats and Republicans get sick of each other's. Imagine if you're a Democrat and you had a Republican president for 71 years, or if you're a Democrat and you had if you're a Republican, you had a Democrat president for 71 years. How pissed a lot of people would be. So after 71 years, this one party was voted out of power.
Is that
So
under Fox? Is that Fox?
exactly, yeah. Fox was the guy who kind of got him out.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of optimism there, an optimism, and it was a sense that was the kind of high point of globalization, you could say, when this idea that Mexico is going to become rich, Mexico is going to become, free markets are going to make everybody rich, it's going to become safe, it's going to be democratic, all of these things. That was kind of the idea that was being promoted, and you know several decades later, that's not the case. Very obviously not the case. Mexico's lived through a traumatic 2 decades of extreme violence, um, uh, akin to an armed conflict, which have soaked up the country and been devastating for many people. Now, there's still a weird paradox there that there's a whole Mexico that lives outside of this violence, and there still is growth, and there still is a lot of good things happening here. But at the same time, it's been traumatic. Now, the question of the one party is kind of, is it coming back now with the new Morena party? Are they recreating a 21st century PRI? Claudia Sheinbaum won a very solid democratic vote. But they're very big. They're 2/3 of the governors now. 2/3 of the Congress, and it's becoming it's very much a dominant party system again now after 20 years of a quite unstable democracy. And the issue, I mean, cartels. So it's totally night and day what's happened with the cartels. Back in 2001, and that was just around the time that Traffic came out, the movie. I think it came out that year or 2000, and so that had that look at cartels then, very much following up from the 90s kind of stuff of the Ariana Felix, of the Lord of the Skies, and these kind of characters. And they were new and they were dangerous, but they were still a kind of crime story, a kind of marginal story. And they just blew up completely and just like unleashed across the country. So yeah, there's some big points of changes there.